We're back to the Neil Haley Show. And before we dive into today's exciting interview, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Books to Life Marketing. They're the team making it all possible. They specialize in helping authors bring their stories to life through expert publishing, marketing, and media exposure. They're behind some of the most inspiring author journeys we've seen. If you're an author looking to elevate your book, Books to Life Marketing is the partner you want in your corner. And our guest today is James Meuer. And James' book's titled Damaged, A First Responder's Experiences with Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. Thanks for stopping by, James. I have dealt with and had conversations about this. This is not an easy subject at all. And so many people don't understand PTSD. So I'm going to go ask the first question. What is PTSD? Because a lot of people don't define it correctly.
Yeah, post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a, it's not a physical injury in the sense as much as it affects your brain. And we have a little part in our brain called the amygdala that doesn't let us forget the things we've seen. And so it affects us in various ways and affects people differently, but yet we all have some of the same symptoms, or if you want to call it that. Excuse me. But PTSD, the best way I can describe it is a normal response to abnormal situations or things or events or traumas that we've experienced. And for first responders, obviously, we see a lot of stuff out there. But it could be, one person could be affected by it by having a very bad auto accident. Um, Others, it takes, you see one thing and you don't deal with it, and then it builds up and it builds up till the next thing you don't know why you're exploding just because you dropped a spoon on the floor,
Right.
and anger has got to be one of the most common denominators amongst us all. But
Wow. And it's so difficult to identify PTSD. And we're going to talk about this in the conversation. But you're right. Anger is that first thing, the short response, and really not being able to deal with conflict, deal with challenges.
yes, oh my gosh, yes, yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't know why I was just blowing up and just not tolerant of things, and why sound scared me. And we lose sleep. We don't sleep that well. We have bad dreams. That we relive a lot of what we've seen either through our dreams or sometimes during the day. I used to get this deer in the headlight looks, and my wife would be like, "Hey, James, hun, and I have to shake myself out of it. I don't even recognize when I go off like that, but it still happens. And I've been dealing with this for quite a long time, been through counseling years, many different counselors, many different trials and errors, medications, things like that, till I finally feel like I got control of it. But sometimes I still, what I call the darkness or the madness, I still get a little bit of that.
Mhm.
I still tense up when my dog barks too much at the doorbell. And
Well, I have something to show you of a great client I'm working with that's done some great work with people with PTSD. But I'll talk about that at another time off air after this interview. So,
okay,
because it's unreal, and it's unreal because I mean, what you've done. Thank you for your service. Anyone that is a first responder, in so many ways, I'm just blown away by that stuff. So why did you write Damaged?
well, I had one of my counselors talked about journaling, so I would write down things, and I'm I had all of these folders or binders full of things that I had written throughout the years. My phone's full of stuff. I think of something, I write it down. And so my wife, she actually said, "You should put this all into a book because you think you're the only one. That means there's other people out there that think they're the only one." So I'd spend the early morning hours typing away, and I cried a lot during it because I was still fresh. and I remembering a lot of things and things I hadn't dealt with yet. And so she just inspired me to write it, and she's been my biggest supporter. Now, I'll admit I blew up 3 marriages before that. This is number 4. She's going great. She supports me. In fact, and I'll probably talk about this again. She found me a PTSD service dog, which was the greatest help.
Oh, wow.
Never heard of such a thing, but I recommend it. Um, I got my dog from a place in Texas, and man, I couldn't believe how he helped me get out of the house. Uh, um,
Wow.
yeah, he was amazing. Love that guy. He was a Great Dane, part Great Dane, part Dutch Shepherd. So he was a pretty big guy with the brindle coat and this black face and these gold eyes. So he kept people away from me, which I needed at first. And he got me to a point where, as he got older, I didn't really need that support out there. But man, those dogs are wonderful. Those, well, yeah, can't talk enough about how good. And it is good for you to just have him look at you and put his face on your knee and check on you. But
Oh.
yeah, yeah,
It's able to calm you very quickly when you get set
well,
off in some sort of way.
yeah. And like I said, a lot of us don't recognize that we're going into something, and he would just come over and just. I have so many pictures of him just looking up at me, and those eyes were just amazing. And if he hadn't seen me in a bit, he'd go find me and look at me, and I'd say I'm okay, and he'd go back to where he was at. But yeah, I
Uh,
can't
wow.
recommend a pet, any kind of pet. They all help.
Did you writing about that in the book, your service
No,
dog?
I did not put that in the book. I'm sorry, I got off topic there. No,
That's okay. That's fine because we want to get to know you, James, more
yeah,
than
I
the book.
talk.
The book's important to go pick it up because they want to learn about those things. But I just wanted to know if that was in the book.
No, I hadn't put it in that one. I've been trying to work on another one, but it's so hard. It's really hard for me to sit and write just because it's so emotional, and I can get a few pages done, and then I'm like done, and something else in life takes over, and I gotta go do this or do that,
Oh,
and
trust me, James, it never stops. So,
no, no, I wanted in my book, I write it straightforward. I don't pull punches. I was kind of at a point also when I wrote it that I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this out there. If it helps one person realize they're not alone, great. And I wanted people that didn't know anything about PTSD to feel it the way we feel it. So I tried to write it that way and I've never been one to put fluff in books, in school creative writing in English classes. That's the one thing my teachers and professors used to say was you need to add more to it and descriptions and like you know I'm not the kind of guy to spend 8 pages writing about a whale's eye like in Moby Dick. But it's straight to the point. Uh, uh, I have hard time looking through it. It really just brings it all back up, and I've refreshed myself with it over the past few weeks just to remember what I said, and I'm like, dang, this is hard hitting.
it seems like it's totally. So, you talked about one thing, but I think other things alleviated the symptoms as well. What did you find helpful to alleviate the symptoms of PTSD? One
Oh
thing is your service dog for sure. What else?
yeah, my dog. Having a hobby. I picked up woodworking after I retired and slowly built up my shop to. In fact, the flag behind me is one thing I made. I made a lot of flags, but I make all kinds of things for people, and it's my therapy, is what I call it. I could go out and just sand a piece of wood for a couple hours and just feel peace, have my music blaring, and my wife could tell my mood depending on what music I'm playing. If I'm playing rock and roll 80s hair bands, I'm in a little tight. But if I got the pop music going, yeah, I got Backstreet Boys and Megan Trainor and all those folks. But the one thing that really helped me was music. And as I go off to sleep at night, I'll put my ear pods in, and I'll turn up music, and especially Evanescence. I don't know what it is. I can turn that on, and her voice just like silences everything in my head to where that's all I can hear, and I fall off to sleep. And next thing I knew, I wake up a couple hours later, the music's still playing, and I realized I was actually dead asleep. But having something to do to stay busy, because if we sit around, we think, and it enters us without us even knowing. And next thing you know, we're off in a zone and angry again, or we're tense, we're clenching our teeth. So those are the things I found: music, my dog, a hobby. Um, but people have to find what works for them. I say
Yeah.
these things, it may or may not work for them. Just like one medication may work for me, but it may not work for this person over here. And it's just, I don't know, I don't want to say trial and error, but it kind of is. You try music, well, that's not working. Try a different kind of music. Okay, that works. Um, the hobby may not be anything. I mean, I don't. You could pick up crocheting or knitting or painting, or just something that gets you out of your head and onto something else. And
Right. That's
and
pretty. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. But it's good to have that hobby. Um,
yeah.
What is hypervigilance?
Oh my gosh, that I think every one of us with PTSD has hypervigilance, and that is always constantly looking out for dangers everywhere, making contingency plans for things, checking your doors 5 times a night, which I no longer do,
Oh,
but I
wow.
used to, and it drove me crazy that I was doing it. Um, it's going to a restaurant and sitting where you can see everything out there. And even when I go out in my shop, I never put my back to the outside of the garage. I always face outwards when I'm doing stuff. I'm jumpy. People can startle me real easy, and I laugh about it because I think it's funny. I don't
You
get
didn't
as
think it funny before, that's for sure.
before, no, no, don't even sneak up on me. My wife would announce herself coming in, or making a noise. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be banging in the kitchen or something like that. Yeah, wow, yeah, the hypervigilance. Like I said, contingency plans. Like if someone broke in this window right here, what am I going to do? I got this. I got, what weapons do I have? How can And it's like that all the time. Me now, when I go out driving, that's one thing I really don't like to do a whole lot, because I see accidents everywhere. I see people driving, and I'm like, oh, we might read about you in the newspaper later.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I have a friend who I've been talking with because he was in a bad accident a couple months ago, and he doesn't like pedestrians near the corners and stuff like that, because it was a autoped that he was involved. That's a car versus pedestrian. Um, he doesn't like that. And me again, I also have problems. I don't like seeing kids running around a swimming pool. That just gets me like,
Mm,
mm. And we all have our our things. We all have that one call that we just can't get over or we can't forget. And in my book, the first chapter is that call for me,
Right.
and that little girl. I mean, that was 1988, I believe. That was just a few years into my career, and I continued on from 1986 to 2011, and that call stayed with me, man. That was the one that beat me up the most. But a good thing about it was, and I always throughout the years, I would try to find where she was buried because I thought if I could do that and go put flowers, um, then I could make it better. And so I found actually in 2018, I'm out in my shop working. I found where she was buried. There was a memorial page, nothing was written. So I wrote on there, "You don't know me from Adam, but I was the paramedic that was there that day. And a day doesn't go by that I don't think about you."
Wow.
Well, must have been a week or two later, I get an email, and the subject line is, "Hi, I'm Krista's mom." Now, Krista's the real name of the girl, and her mom said I can use her name. So her mom emailed me. I took my phone to my wife and I said, "You got to read this." I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Right.
Um, and her and her son came over and we talked about it. And I realized I had been feeling so much guilt. And I apologized to them. And they're like, "What are you apologizing for?" And I said, "Because I didn't do anything. It's not that I didn't, it's just that I couldn't. The trauma was so severe." And so we just had a great time. No, I shouldn't say great time. Excuse me. Um, but we talked about it. And she told me what was going on that morning and how things happened. And that was the first time also I had to tell somebody that a loved one passed away. So that she was just more like, "Okay, okay." I thought, a mom or dad or family would be freaking out. But I guess the shock of it. But yeah, that story turned out in 2018, got better, and that call never bothered me again.
Wow.
I've been good with it. Her mom gave me a picture of Krista, which I keep on my desk right here. And I just look at this little girl with this smiling face, and I'm like, wow, she's a cutie. And kids are the hardest thing, because parents aren't supposed to bury their children, and it just affects us because especially when I have kids, I have three, and um, you come home. I remember one day I came home and with my first wife, and I was like, man, we had this an 11-year-old that hung himself because mom wouldn't let him go to the fair, and things like that. And I've had so many pediatric calls that, yeah, it all built up, and I was putting these in a backpack, and I wasn't taking any of it out, and I was just carrying it, and then through counseling and friends and talking about it. And that's the hardest step, is asking for help. The hardest step is talking about it because, we're supposed to be 10 feet tall and bulletproof and nothing's supposed to affect us. It's our job. And yeah, it's our job and we chose it. And I loved it. And I'd go back and do it all over again. Um, you just got
Yeah.
to tell my back that we're going to be doing lifting again and it's all done. So it just, oh man, I got so many things running through my head.
No, that's good. It's good. It's good to talk about these things because you saw things in your life that is impossible to forget. That
Yeah,
that then become normal to you, but then your empathy comes further and further in, and you start
yeah,
more and more saying, "I have a kid. What if that happens to my kid?" I have what happens if this happens to my wife? What happens if I have a heart attack tomorrow? All
Yep.
these things you see because you're seeing so many traumatic events every day as a first
Yep.
responder. You start to think about, can this happen to me? Can this happen to my kids? Can this
Yep.
happen to my parents? You're just all different things, or every case scenario for you could happen. Like as a first
Yep.
responder, you respond to home break-ins, right? Different
Yep.
violent events that
Yep.
what if that happens to me? And that's what it sounds
Yep.
like happened to you.
Yeah, yeah. The kids, you're right. You have kids, you think about it. After the call with Krista, I was like, my kids are never getting on a school bus again, ever. I
Oh
was
my
like, nope.
goodness.
I watched them fully, man. I was right there. I was always, I was worried. And then they do something. I'd be like, what are you doing that for? And they didn't understand why I'm snapping. And it's like, you could have gotten hurt. It, it, at the same time, like one time, my oldest daughter, she was young, she stuck a bobby pin in a light socket, zapped her hand, burnt it. She had burns on her fingers. I freaked out. I didn't know what to do. I called her mom at work and said, "What do I do?" And with me, I lose all my skills and abilities and thought process when it's a family member.
Isn't that interesting? But you could totally, if it was somebody else, shut off. But when it's a family member, it's a different story and be able
Yeah,
to do your job. But you then know what the result could be. Like, did you
yeah.
ever think that there's such traumatic things that happen every day?
You
No.
know, I never realized the stuff that's out there until I was doing the job, and I now I just think about those things are still happening and people are still out there getting hurt and building this up and putting their rocks in their own backpack and not wanting to talk about it. And that's the one reason I wanted, like I said earlier, is get the book out, let other people know they're not alone, and just getting the story out that it's okay to talk about it. You're not weak. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Right.
It, but it's the hardest part because we don't want our crews and our partners and our job. We're afraid we're going to lose our job. You know, now they'll take a crew out of service, put them through a critical incident stress debriefing, is what they CISD, um, and try to get them to talk about it right away, which is the best thing. Get that off, get that out of your head, talk about it. Holding it all in without talking about it just makes your head explode, and then we get angry a lot.
Yeah.
Now, me, I've
No.
been gotten so angry at times that I've punched things. I've broken my hand 4 or 5 times,
Mm.
either one. And you know, I broke my back. I've had surgery. They were giving me a ton of pain medications, and so I got addicted to pain meds,
Oh my
and
gosh.
then drinking.
Everything.
All
Once it leads that. So, what do you think's the first step to healing?
finding someone you trust and talking to them. And that's my buddy that was involved with that auto pedestrian. He contacted me because he knows that I know about things. And when I talk about these things, I'm not guessing, I'm remembering. And so I take things for me and things that I've been mentioning here and talk to them about it and talk to my buddy. And in fact, he's coming over this weekend again so we can talk. And that's the biggest, hardest step, asking for help.
Yep.
And,
I
and when I did that, I realized, wow, no one's giving me a bad time. They're, they were like, wow, maybe that's happening to me, or, oh, I get that. I get that way too. You um, Isolation. I got to mention that too, because after the call with Krista, man, I spent 4 days on my own.
Oh my
just 4
goodness.
days just bumming around, and
So
then
what do you think, James, people are going to get most out of your book?
I hope they get the feeling that it's not normal, the things we saw, and it's okay to feel the way we feel. And I hope that they realize, again, the biggest thing is that they're not alone. There's others out here. Find someone like me. In fact, if anybody
Yeah.
ever wanted to email me, they can do that too.
What's your email?
Um, for this kind of thing, I'd like to use the one I have for my book, which is
Oh yeah. What is you have a website people can go to? Let's just go
I
there.
don't have a
No.
website. I got
Okay.
hacked for
Oh, okay.
everything. So I
Okay.
had to restart all
Oh
my
no.
pages. My damaged page, I had like 50,000 some odd followers, and then it got hacked, and
Oh my
now I'm down to
goodness.
like 35.
All
But
right.
you know, and I'm trying to build it back up because I want the word to get out there. I want people to
Yes.
know. I
You're
don't.
going to do it. I believe in you, James. What is that email?
It's all lowercase, no spaces, damaged the book at outlook.com.
Okay.
All
All right.
lowercase, all put together,
And
and
your book is available on Amazon, right? We can pick up the damaged
it's
on
on
Amazon.
Amazon, Kindle, or hardback. It's short, sweet, to the point. Again, no fluff, man. I hit it
Eh,
hard.
It's powerful. It's powerful. Your story's powerful, James. I appreciate you coming by.
I appreciate you having me, sir.
All right. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.